Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sonic the Hedgehog here, and I am once again back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom for the PlayStation 2, Nintendo GameCube, and Xbox. So, last time we have managed to able to get started by simply exploring around on Sand Mountain basically, and we managed to able to gather almost every single golden spatulas basically, all except for this last one, but we'll get to that until likely for later on for this episode. And because of that though, speaking of today, we're about to be hopefully trying to able to 100%, well I don't know exactly when we're gonna be achieving 100% just yet for the sake of this game just yet, because otherwise, in addition to able to actually just find ourselves some more collectibles, specifically Patrick's socks, and especially noticeable with the forms of the final golden spatula in this world, and eventually at this point, we might also take on the forms of the next boss in the game, which we'll discuss more about that whenever we get onto that specific point. So yeah, as you can tell, we're about to be revisiting some of the previous segments in Journey forms within the slide segments, which still, the actual slide segments is easily the best part about the game because it's all accelerating and stuff like that. Although, sure enough, it does get a little bit tricky once you get used to it, but apart from those side of things though, it's actually pretty fun though, despite I accidentally just got myself, you know, just got exploded by those tiki boxes and stuff like that. But either way though, that's as far as I can usually think about it. But before we're able to continue on for this point, I need to, you know, trying to grab the remaining, you know, shiny objects, as you're going to be seeing me trying to able to grind some of them before we're able to continue things on throughout the whole thing. Or throughout the game, I should say, before we're able to actually move on to the next few worlds coming up in the future. So, yeah, as far as I can usually think about this. So, yeah, today's date is, of course, the, I would say today is the 22nd of June today, in this case in 2020. So in this case, tomorrow, that's the SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated Remake is going to be releasing tomorrow, which I'm really looking forward to that, because so far I'm actually really enjoyed this game basically so far. Well, despite there are some a little bit of an issues here and there, like some knockbacks and stuff like that, but apart from those side of things though, I actually had a blast with this game, especially noticeable that how most people think this game is by far one of the best SpongeBob games ever made. Sure, there are some you know, negative things aside of things though, like specifically knockback as in a retro video game kind of design, and especially noticeable how the fact that sometimes that the actual animation doesn't usually match up to the forms of the actual cartoon show, especially, even with the mouth animations, because, oh man, they just went all over the place. I'm pretty sure that in the remake, you're able to actually fix the actual lip syncing and stuff like that, with especially noticeable with the actual animations will tend to improve during the forms within a remake until when it comes out tomorrow, which I'm still looking forward to it though. So either way though, I think that's all we can think about this in this area, so I think we should probably now move on to Area 2. So in Area 2 specifically, as far as you guys should already know, that we need to take down, like, I would say 8 of their snowmen, and because of that, we need to take them down, and we're able to actually get ourselves our next reward, such as specifically, I would say, the Patrick sock, basically. So either way, though, it's nothing to do with the forms of the golden spatula, luckily, but either way, though, I'm just probably pointing out right away that I probably should able to actually go after the majority of those, you know, collectibles like Patrick socks or anything like that. So, but either way, though, that's all I can really think about it. So, yeah, as you can see, we're going to be able to now do some snowboarding segments, or in this case, the sliding segments, as for Sandy. Because let me tell you, using Sandy on these segments is actually really useful. Especially noticeable how, if you somehow dare to miss some of those parts throughout the forms of the some sliding segments, thankfully you can able to utilize, or in this case, just use her lasso, so that way you can able to actually get yourselves a little bit more altitude for a moment in the mid-air, so that way you can able to actually get yourselves more air time, and that way you can able to actually not only just make yourself safe in journey forms of the slide segments, but also about the fact that it just makes certain parts throughout the majority of this particular quest, or in this case for this next thing I was going to be getting, specifically Patrick's next sock, which appears to be, of course, take down all 8 of their snowmen, and if you somehow accomplish that, then you would able to actually achieve Patrick's sock, basically. So either way though, well, it might be pretty tricky with SpongeBob or not, because he doesn't have the ability to able to actually just, well, hover for a few seconds, unlike Sandy is. But apart from those side of things though, still you need to recommend Sandy for very, very good reason, especially noticeable how the fact that, well, despite the combat on her wasn't exactly the ideal way of trying to beat some enemies, but platforming skills like, you know, using her lasso and stuff like that, it is so useful, especially noticeable if you're having a hard time with, you know, during certain platforming segments like these ones did. But either way though, I'm just gonna have to stuck around with her for a while. Until when it gets to the point whenever we're gonna have to switch back to SpongeBob for about a few seconds notice, because there might be a the next objective that we need to get into, which we'll point it out whenever we get into it. But from now on though, let's go ahead and just, you know, jump over those bottomless pits and stuff like that. But then again, if you somehow manage to fell off in those kinds of tracks like this, unfortunately though, you're gonna have to restart the whole entire thing if you manage to fall off and die. So even then though, it's kind of a little bit of a coincidence kind of challenge, which is especially noticeable if you really want to take down the majority of the snowman. But if you ever think you'll basically give up on this though, luckily there's some lot of pathways we can able to take. Specifically, you know, with the one with that particular area I just went through, that's, you know, right between those little arrow signs in between, and also right here, that we can able to actually just destroy that, as opposed to the ones in the first run of this, for the sake of this particular, you know, the actual sliding segments. That way you can able to actually use Sandy's lasso, so that way you can able to go back up slightly again. Or even especially noticeable if you're able to be, if you think you're about to be missing one of those snowmen to begin with, well, luckily for you, you can able to take the alternative way by simply able to utilize the actual, you know, the lasso hover ability, which is super useful. I usually I've already said this a couple of times already, but either way though, I think we've already got about 2 more snowmen left, so hopefully while this has been going on, I'll hopefully try and able to, you know, farm some more of those, you know, shiny objects before we continue. Especially noticeable how the fact that I get a feeling that we need to aim for about 2,500 of those shiny objects in order to able to get ourselves the final golden spatula on this world. So either way though, we can at least expect it for this much. So either way, let's go ahead and just get ourselves some checkpoints here and there. But of course, checkpoints won't able to actually save your progress if you die, if you somehow manage to fall off when you're trying to deal with some abundance of snowmen to just you know, to destroy. And then as a result, there is no way you can able to save your progression, unless you have to restart the whole thing all over again. So, but even then, that makes it a little bit of a challenging task if you really want to get a grips with it. So either way, let's go ahead and go up here again. And because of that, we need to hop around here and, well, try to, like, jump over onto the top portion again. And because of that, we need to get ourselves, what else? Another Patrick sock. So, pretty cool. And especially noticeable, we've pretty much almost collected every single, you know, Patrick sock in Journey Forms of this world in particular. So even then though, might as well do one more run, and if I somehow missed out one of those snowmen Journey Forms of that particular attempt, well, I could able to actually just jump cut and then just, well, show you guys off where the remaining snowmen are. Especially noticeable how the fact that, well, there's not much else you can usually just to talk about this for the sake of time. Well, including any forms of likely if you have a first time playing for this kind of stuff, as you probably guys should know. But anywho, I suppose another thing as well is the fact that recently tomorrow also is the fact that the Sonic the Hedgehog, the video game, specifically, you know, the original game on the Mega Drive / Sega Genesis, well, to be more specifically, the Genesis version of the game, I think that game will about to become 29 years until tomorrow, so, and same applies to myself as well, because after all, I'm Sonic the Hedgehog, trying to able to discuss upon this game. So, but either way though, I know you guys are probably thinking about the fact that aren't you supposed to be coming back into Kingdom Hearts Final Mix As we established that before, and we're gonna say this again, definitely until when it gets to on September, that way we can able to come back into that game, and hopefully trying to finish up for that Let's Play, because we actually hold up for about, I would say, almost 6 months, since we actually did manage to hold up by the forms of that particular Let's Play, just because, well, obviously I just need some more time before I start to even recognize the actual thing of about the different strategies of specific keyblades I need to use, and I need to keep on grinding for some more level ups in between, and it's going to be a lot of busy work whenever I get back into Kingdom Hearts Final Mix kind of thing about it, especially noticeable if I was going to be able to go after multitude of things on the, well, let's just say an off-screen on my own time for a bit, and especially noticeable with the forms of, well, to be more specifically, just trying to able to completely done with certain parts throughout. But either way though, we'll save that up whenever we get onto that specific, for the sake of the forms of September month, as far as I can usually try to point it out. So, anywho, and looks like I seem to be missing the final 2 snowmen on this part, but that's fine because I'm gonna have to do a massive jump cut right here, so yeah. Okay, I apologize for another jump cut right there, just because I know exactly what we're supposed to do for this point, and I do apologize, but the actual commentary gets a little bit, well, out of hand when it comes to the forms of the actual commentary. But there's one right behind us from the very beginning, by the way, so don't forget that. And I believe the last one is going to be at the end as well. But rather than taking, rather than just go to the right route or the center, instead we need to go onto the left side of this particular slide segment, because as a result, if you somehow managed able to find all of these, you know, snowmen, as you can tell, then you would be able to actually just, well, completely done with that particular task. Even especially noticeable if you really want to, you know, go ahead and go after Patrick's socks, basically. So even then, that makes it very obvious for that standard stuff for the most part. So, because otherwise I'm gonna have to keep on, like, if I somehow keep on missing some of these collectibles during the forms within the slide segments, well, it doesn't bother me though that's as much, because otherwise I'm gonna have to go after most of those, you know, shiny objects as you're gonna be seeing me constantly collecting. Because even then though, again, if you really want to progress in some of the worlds throughout, then I could suppose I can able to actually just to keep on grabbing some more, you know, shiny objects as you see here. And especially noticeable until tomorrow, whenever I manage to get my hands on a remake of this game. Hopefully I should be able to actually enjoy it more, especially noticeable with a lot of, like, replayability, if you manage to able to try to go ahead and, well, just do all sorts of things, basically. So even then, yeah, that's as far as I can actually think about this. I do apologize whether there's going to be lack of, news and updates to talk about, just because of how the fact that, since after all we are slowly closing, we are surely slowly towards the end of June already. But either way though, we'll talk more about it until then. So either way though, since we actually did manage to destroy all of those snowmen, and as a result will give us a good reward, such as, of course, as I mentioned this before, is Patrick's sock, and it appears to be at the right at the checkpoint is. Okay, that seems a little bit generous of us. So even then though, that's pretty much about it in terms of the second part of the forms of that sliding segment. Now let's go ahead and instantly transport it to the third and the final segment. Well, from now on anyway though, because again, whenever we do manage to able to come back into this world in particular, I'm not exactly sure if depending on which specific stuff I want able to port it off. But because of that though, basically I'm just going to have to able to try my best if I was going to able to farm, or not only trying to able to grind, or just to do some more grinding in terms of getting some more shiny objects as you see, but also trying to get ourselves the rest of the socks in journey forms of this world. But if I somehow don't, then I might as well still come back for this. So, but either way though, speaking of such, here's another sock just about right here. So, thankfully we did manage to able to achieve that, so I think we've only got about 3 more left, so hopefully we'll able to get this done. But, I guess there's not much else I can talk about, so because of that though, Yeah, and plus, not to mention though, is the fact that I'm pretty sure we end the halfway point of the game already. Well, to be more specifically, in the 100% completion of the game. And then as a result of that kinds of stuff though, we actually getting really close. So anyways, in here, we need to go to the other side, as you can see right here. And then basically, we need to make our way to different islands to islands by simply able to deal with the ice physics. And, oh! I really hate that enemy right there. This means I have to go all the way back, aren't I? Yep. So, yeah, it's just pretty unpleasant when if you get knocked back and then it'll just send you all the way back to the very beginning. But, luckily though, we still got infinite lives, so that's the only generous thing about this. So, anywho. And, again, not much else to say about this, I'm afraid, guys. Well, apart from the fact that the only, honorable mention stuff I would like to bring to you guys about the fact that with some other updates and everything like that. But simply to say, I think that's all I can say, because even then I'm super excited for the remake we're about to be coming out for this week on tomorrow. In fact, let me know in the comments below about the fact that are you super excited for the remake until tomorrow? Because let me know, because I'm so looking forward to able to actually play the game again, but this time on a much more gorgeous HD consoles. Specifically, the PS4 version run at 1080p and stuff like that, and also same applies to the Nintendo Switch versions even there too. So either way though, I'm really pumped for that, and especially looking forward to it as well. So, son of a biscuit! I'm just getting sick of that particular enemy right there, because it's just like, they always catches me off guard. Like, it really just catches me off guard sometimes, especially noticeable with that, you know, with that particular knockback thing I mentioned earlier. Although thankfully we can able to actually take that particular shortcut, so that way it makes things a heck of a lot more faster than in forms of how it does it from the previous 2 attempts that I managed to did. So, hey. But yeah, basically you can do this whether if you keep failing, especially noticeable how the fact that those tikis right there still respawns, and that way you could be able to get opportunities to able to get yourselves even more shiny objects if you're able to feel like trying to do all that stuff. So either way though, let's just get on to this little bounce pad right here, and we're not going to activate that switch just yet, and I forgot to press the circle button because I wasn't paying attention. So yep, looks like we're going back into some sort of like a semi-blind kind of stuff. I know it has been a while since I actually played this version because, well, it wasn't until when it gets to tomorrow that I'll play the remake on my own time, specifically for the Nintendo Switch and probably the PlayStation 4 version, so that I can able to obtain trophies, especially noticeable with how I can able to actually get myself like 10 stars rankings or something. I might be curious to see what the trophies list looks like until when the actual remake will come out. So even then, I'm really looking forward to see how this guy turns out. Even then, I'm pretty sure they will able to mention about the forms of obtaining all the gold spatulas, or golden spatulas I like to say, and also same applies to that I would say by the forms of obtaining all of these Patrick socks, and also same applies to those abilities or something? I'm not exactly sure just yet, but hopefully until tomorrow I will mention more about that until in the future. Specifically whenever we get on to, on Friday specifically, so hopefully I will mention more of that until then, so. But anywho though, that's as far as I can say about this for the most part, because even then though, yeah, that's as far as I can say. I do apologize for the actual, you know, the commentary doesn't look that much, you know, super extensive as in the forms of how it does it on the previous parts, as I mentioned, but it's just the fact that I just want to able to point things out for some of those notifying stuff, even with the forms of some other stuff worth mentioning. So, apart from the fact that my phone just keeps on not letting me charge up my phone recently, and as a result, I have to deal with the most awkward thing to charge it all up, and as a result, it gets really stingy on my front, so. Anyways, let's try this again, and thankfully we can now able to actually just kill this little stupid little robot, and thankfully we got ourselves the next Patrick sock. So, how's up for that? So anyways, I think we'll just, well, for the most part, before we do anything else, I feel like trying to able to actually farm some more of those, or just do some more grinding, for more of the actual, the golden, well, specifically shiny objects, as you can see here. And the reason why I'm exploring through this way, because since we've already been into the left side like loads of times already, so I feel like trying to go ahead and explore this particular part right there just to see what it looks like. So I believe Nintendo is just the amount of those falling snowballs coming from above, and you have to simply just dodge them. So yeah, that's all I can really discuss on this front. So, but either way, that's all I can really think about it. So anyway, let's just go ahead and continue things on here, and be very careful, so just in case we're not gonna take a risks and or anything like that. So thankfully that was the case. So even then, let's jump from another edge of the actual side of the actual slide segment, and well, seemingly to say we're actually doing not too bad, but either way though, I'm just getting a little bit more distracted when it comes to the forms of trying to able to do some more grinding for, you know, shiny objects to collect. And definitely speaking because of how the fact that this is the reason why that some of these uploads of this game might take a really long time. Especially noticeable if I was going to be able to be hearing a lot of characters' dialogues from the forms of in between cutscenes and stuff. Sometimes though, it's the fact that my editor program just likes to able to actually kick me out for whatever reason if I keep doing that. I understand, because I know most of you really want to see most of the cutscenes of this game, so even way though, I just want to classify that. Like, it always happens like a lot throughout life, even especially noticeable in Sonic games, some Mario games, and also same applies to any other stuff here and there too. So yeah, it's kind of a nuisance, by the way, but either way though, we are basically done here. So either way, let's just go ahead and now focusing on, you know, to trying to get ourselves the final golden spatula for the sake of the forms of Sand Mountain. And once we're done with that though, then we can probably move on to the forms of the next true boss fight. So even then though, we'll go ahead and move forward a bit, and hopefully we'll able to actually get even more shiny objects. And let's switch over to SpongeBob here, and because of that, why do I just fell off? I'll blame on that camera control right here, so whoops. So yes, the reason why we need to switch to SpongeBob here, because I think, as I said this before already, that we do need to use him for able to obtain the final golden spatula, and by all means by that we need to go all the way to, let's just say, this bit right here, as we've already explored from before, and spend some of those shiny objects to activate it.
Hello, my most favorite friend in the whole world. I found another golden spatula for you.
Oh, boy! Can I have it?
Sure, if you fall down to the bottom of this pit.
Isn't there a safer way?
It's always safety with you people. I suppose you could bungee down.
Alright, so let's go ahead and spend about 2,500 of those shiny objects, so that way we can able to activate a bungee jumping sequence by simply able to not only obtain even more shiny objects, as you can see, but also obtain the, of course, a glorious golden spatula. So we've got ourselves 58 of them so far, so we're actually getting pretty close to the 60 mark. So, but either way though, but it wasn't until whenever we get on to the next portions of the game that sure enough we'll get 60 in time.
Oh, thank Neptune, you did it! Now I can go get my equipment and ski in peace.
Actually, I think that Patrick borrowed your equipment.
What? Who said he could do that?
I did. I figured if you didn't know, you wouldn't mind. Again.
Wouldn't mind? Of course I mind! It's only the most expensive skiing equipment you can buy! And what does Patrick want with that stuff anyway? He doesn't even know how to ski.
I want the worm now!
Ah, poor Squidward. He never seemed able to enjoy himself or able to actually just to realize that he needs to cope with both SpongeBob and Patrick. In this case, you remember any forms of that Season 1 episode where basically that Squidward got annoyed by SpongeBob and Patrick, which it always seems to happen throughout the years? So, but either way though, I'm guessing it's more accurately for, I don't know, what do I explain for this point right now. But anyways, now we're done with that, even though aside from able to be missing some of those Patrick's remaining socks, but then again, we'll be back onto that particular world again whenever we do some more things here and there. So let's go ahead and just unlock this particular next portion. But before we head on to that, we need to take on the form to the next boss fight in an industrial park.
Wow, that robot looks like Patrick, and its breath seems just as bad.
This day just doesn't seem to be getting any better.
SpongeBob, hurry! Squidward's in more trouble than a chili relleno in a pan of grease. We have to help!
You're right, Sandy. But if that robot really is like Patrick, he'll eat us for dessert. What should we do?
Well, we better figure something out, and pronto!
Maybe that button on his back is a self-destruct. I'll try to hit it.
Good idea, SpongeBob, but it's time to stop yapping and get to it!
Yikes!
Alright, so let's move on to the next boss fight, which appears to be Robo-Patrick, which, kind of think about it, that particular boss fight might be exactly similar to Robo-Sandy, except the fact that it just no longer takes place in a boxing ring or anything like that, because instead, obviously it takes place in Industrial Park. So basically in this entire battle is the fact that we need to aim onto its back, because that's its weak spot, as you can see on this little piece of paper. And as a result, it's your chance to able to actually just to hit him in its back. So you can either do a multitude of things you can able to do to his back, while obviously I just managed to able to use you know, the bubble ball, so that way it deals the damage. And just like in the forms of Robo-Sandy is the fact that Robo-Patrick does manage to got himself 9 units of health. So once again, every time you move on to the next portion of the health bar color, let's just say if you take down 3 green health bars down, then you would able to switch over to a different player. Such as this time around though, we are now we still managed to take control of SpongeBob, of course, because he's the main character and all, but now we can able to take control of Sandy this time around for the sake of this battle, because as you can see for that little Texas icon, which actually represents that, yes, we're about to be playing as Sandy on this battle, so pretty cool stuff, especially noticeable how the fact that still that Sandy is by far is one of the most useful characters to use, especially noticeable if you're able to actually utilize with a lot of platforming skills and what have you, so it seems standard stuff for the most part though. So anyways, let's go ahead and aim it to its back again, and that concludes the first phase.
This squirrel too far. Get ready for a hot fudge twister, Texas style.
And now we take control of Sandy again, but this time around though, we're pretty much gonna do the exact same thing. So once again, we need to aim at Robo-Patrick's back. But here's the thing about this though, is the fact that you need to dodge a lot of his projectiles, as you can see right there. Although every time you get hit by projectiles like these, he will restart the actual pattern again. So as a result, something's worth keep that in mind, especially noticeable how the fact that if you keep on getting hit, well, you just have to keep trying, and that's all you have to really think about it. So, then again, you get infinite lives, sure, which makes it pretty obvious for standard stuff. Now let's go ahead and just, well, hopefully trying to kick him no matter what. I think it's probably best able to actually just to do all that stuff though. Even though the only thing you can't do to Robo-Patrick is the fact that he can't able to, you can't able to use the lasso to able to deal the damage on Robo-Patrick. I think it's pretty obvious because I'm pretty sure you need to utilize a karate chop combat or something like that. So I'm guessing that might be make it true or something. So either way though, again, not much else to really say about this apart from the fact that, well, here's the thing this time around, we need to avoid a lot of, like, green goopy water, which as a result, I really think that may as well able to kill you if you manage to able to touch that thing twice. So even then, we need to be very cautious here. So I have no idea what I'm doing right here, even though the lasso can't do anything. So what I'm gonna do, oh, there we go. So yeah, you have to jump and then attack at the same time, so that way it deals the amount of damage to, well, to be more specifically, Robo-Patrick. So, and once we're done with the second phase, then we'll switch it back over to SpongeBob and deal with the third and final phase of the battle, which, thankfully speaking, it will be a lot easier with SpongeBob because it has, like, a lot more abilities to its disposal. And as you can see, we actually got a lot of crates. during he falls into that particular, well, green goop water. I'm guessing it's probably because of platform safety precautions or something. Or perhaps mainly because you get a chance to able to attack him, such as like, well, for instance, if we attack him from here, and boom, there we go, phase 2 done.
Woo-hoo! That's hotter than a June bug in July.
It's time to roll out some robot punishment.
And now here we go on to phase 3, where it makes the actual fight itself a little bit trickier, but still rather easy if you manage to get the hang of it. Now is the fact that every now and then though is the fact that he now starts to able to breathe ice, so we need to be very cautious with that. Also another thing too, that we need to be very cautious with those conveyor belts, because sometimes you never know of where you're going to be going, but then eventually, as soon as when Robo Patrick is getting exhausted after that a lot of spinning, well, much like in phase 1, you have to utilize the actual, the bubble ball to deal the amount of damage to Robo Patrick. So even then though, pretty similar to the forms of phase 1, except the fact that, as you can tell, the actual green water, or I should say hot water it seems like, that basically it will able to start to rise. So, but even then though, it's just the fact that in phase 2 it just keeps on spreading. But in phase 3 it just stuck in between the forms of the highest height of the actual green water. So, but either way though, that makes it a little bit obvious for that point. So, anyways, here we go on to this last hit. I think the last hit might actually be pretty tricky because of how the fact that, well, to be expected with most challenging stuff. Now is the fact that with, of course, dodging a lot of projectiles. Seriously, I always attempt to get hit by that particular same exact pattern with that particular attack pattern right there, which I found it a little bit odd. But anyways, let's go ahead and just, you know, just keep on jumping and stuff like that, while simply avoiding a lot of those green projectiles, and hopefully, once we manage to solve him, solve Patrick, Robo Patrick, just manage to get exhausted, and then I think he might able to come to that particular conveyor belt part right there. So let's go ahead and use the bubble ball, and boom, he's done. He's toast.
Thanks for saving me, guys. I never thought I'd say this, SpongeBob, but I owe you big time.
Thanks, Sandy. We'd still be popsicles if it wasn't for her.
Aw, shucks. You fellers are gonna make me blush.
I think I have fudge in my pants.
Alright, so we're now moving on to probably the third and the final part of the Bikini Bottom hub world. So, hopefully, we should explore for more new worlds.
I'm sorry, Plankton. The Chum Bucket Lab is locked up tight. I don't know if I'll ever get enough golden spatulas to get in.
Yes, it's the Chum Bucket security system. I designed it myself. It makes me so proud. It was meant to keep out the hateful throngs of the unwashed. Unfortunately, I never figured I'd be on this side of it.
So what are you gonna do, Plankton?
We, of course meaning you, are gonna have to go out there and get those golden spatulas! Or I'll never get back into the Chum Bucket and regain control of my robots.
What was that?
Oh, I said, will I ever get back into the Chum Bucket to stain all my pots? Yes.
Something's fishy here.
Well, you must be right, SpongeBob, because everything else has got a lot more fishy around here. Oh, I wonder what's in this spot right there. Although I'll point it out later.
Bubble Buddy, I bet the next move you teach me will be the best one ever.
Abso-positive-a-lutely, SpongeBob!
Super pinky shake on it?
I would if I had pinkies.
Here, I'll blow you some.
Yeah, maybe later. Now, pay attention, SpongeBob. This bubble's a doozy.
Paying my entire salary in attention.
When you're not moving, press this button, and you'll blow a bubble that you can steer as it flies through the air.
Wow!
Aim carefully, though. You've only got a few seconds of flight time before the bubble pops.
I'm a bubble blowing machine.
And from here, we can now finally able to actually access to the final SpongeBob's ability, and that was the fact that we have ourselves the bubble missile. In order to be able to pull this off, is the fact that we need to able to press the L1 button in order to able to actually activate the actual bubble missile ability. But here's the thing, you can also just hold down that particular button. That way you can able to actually go into almost in a first person view or something, but if you press it just quickly, then obviously it will able to actually launch a bubble missile already from the start. And then from here, as you can see, we activate all 3 of these switches just onto that side of the chum bucket building, and as a result we got ourselves another golden spatula. Oh wait a minute, since after all we actually got about 60 golden spatulas, so I'm guessing I was a little bit confused by that point, but hey. Oh my god, I always get confused sometimes, but I digress. Before we continue, there's the final golden pants underwear, so that way we can able to extend our final health extensions right here. So, pretty cool though, especially noticeable how easier this game was every now and then. Especially noticeable how the fact that if we're able to actually get into, let's just say in the final world of the game, before the actual final parts of the game, although I'll talk more on that later.
What's wrong, Mr. Krabs? You don't look so good.
You gotta help me, boy. The Krusty Krab's been overrun by a bunch of them hoodlum robots of yours. They've booted me out! And worse, they've got hold of me beautiful shiny objects!
Defiling the Krusty Krab? Is there no end to their evil? What are we going to do, Mr. Krabs?
We, meaning you, are going to clear the robots out, get me back me restaurant, and most importantly, rescue me money!
Okay then, we'll probably go ahead and pop over to Mr. Krabs, or this Krusty Krab, as far as I'm once well able to point it out. And from here, we need to once again dish out as many of those enemies as we can. Now, whenever we're done with all that stuff though, then we should be able to be rewarded with, what else? Another golden spatula. So hopefully that makes the case, and seems we actually got into a pretty bad start, as far as I can usually think about this. And because of that though, I'm just getting wrecked like super instant. So, whoops. Thankfully, you can able to actually respawn it at the beginning of that particular portion, luckily, because that's the thing about this game. I actually really feel very cool with the actual checkpoint system, because that way it'll take you to the respawning points in some areas. So, at least I appreciate about that, and seriously, I always get so wrecked as soon as I'm able to actually just try to deal with another set of enemies right here. Well, we could able to actually utilize with the actual the bulb. Oh wait, the bubble missile. Yeah, there we go. That way we should. Seriously? It's one of those enemies. Hold on, let me just go ahead and get rid of them. Although there's also a duplication 3000 machine that we still need to just to destroy. So just in case we can able to actually just just essentially trying to able to get rid of the exact same enemies as from before. Sure, there might be some tougher variations until later, but even then, though, what I've noticed something is the fact that since we've already come across into the exact same amount of selections of enemies by this point, so everything else is pretty much unchanged compared to the previous worlds as far as I can notice. But anyway, let's go ahead and activate the bubble missile thing, and then hopefully we should probably take down even more enemies from here, and then tippy-toe all the way up to that particular sleeping enemy, and hopefully, is that done? No, it's not done, because there's gonna be still some more around here, so in this case, of course, we need to deal with the last 3 enemies as you see there. But as soon as you're done with the rest of the robots, then we should probably go ahead and see Mr. Krabs for our reward. But before we deal with all that, actually, I noticed there's going to be a Patrick sock in this particular Krusty Krab building, but in order to be able to do that, I'm pretty sure you need to able to destroy a lot of objects, specifically these little tiki boxes, and also same applies to a lot of crates and a lot of stuff that's usually is all laying around. And also don't forget, you can able to actually just to take down a lot of those barrels representing the actual seat chairs. So yeah, that's all I can really think about it. seriously though, exploring around in Krusty Krab in 3D environment is so cool. Especially noticeable how the fact that it's all about around, well, let's just say like fan service and stuff like that. For those of you that are the hugest fan of SpongeBob SquarePants TV series, which I sort of do, even though despite the later seasons, specifically season 4 all the way up to onwards or something like that, including Truth or Square, mind you, that some of those episodes can be okay to average to meh to bad to horrendous most of the time. But apart from those side of things though, I still obviously enjoy season 1 all the way up to season 3. Especially my favorite episode in the entire show is of course the band Cheeks, because the band Cheeks is so epic. Especially noticeable at the end too. So, but either way though, you probably get the idea of how this is going right here. So either way, I suppose we'll probably come back into this until later, because there's not much else I can usually try to think of anyway. So let's go ahead and just hit on to this exit point in, you know, Krusty Krab and stuff, and hopefully we should get ourselves our next Golden Spatula reward. So, yeah.
Phew! You had me worried there for a bit, boy. Worried for me money, of course. Here, take this as your reward.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Krabs. I really appreciate it for able to give me that particular precious item, specifically the golden spatula itself. So, I digress. Before we end off this video right here, I think we should probably go ahead and just keep on, you know, collecting some more shiny objects before we're able to actually continue somewhere. So, but either way, I just want to point things out right away. So, even then, though, with that being said, I think simply to say, we'll probably go ahead and end things off at this point right there. So, because of that, let me just go ahead and go all the way back to the beginning of the Bikini Bottom, I should say. And because of that, join me next time on Let's Play SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. Instead, we are about to be moving on to, I would say going back into Jellyfish Fields all the way up to, well, I would say it's Sand Mountain, because I'm pretty much still missing Patrick's socks every once in a while. So I'll see you guys until on Wednesday. Later, fellas.